Mammon, the demon of greed. He who worships gold drinks the water of an eternal thirst. Act 1. The Auctioneer's Eye. Elias Thorne was not born greedy. Greed had grown in him like mold in silence, slow, invisible, and all-consuming. His early years were spent in a modest home nestled between fading churches and crumbling clock towers. Raised by a mother who believed thrift was holy and a father who counted coppers as blessings. But Elias, even as a child, found coins under pillows where others saw lint. He bartered toys for secrets, sold poems for favors, and by the age of 11, he had bought his first company, a failing candlemaker's shop, which he turned into a lucrative perfume business. By 30, Elias Thorne had risen from nobody to myth, a phantom tycoon whose wealth was whispered about in the corridors of finance. His empire spanned markets both real and metaphysical. Stocks, patents on feelings. He'd trademarked the scent of nostalgia and leased the sound of a dying star to a symphony. Now he sat beneath an obsidian chandelier, its pendants shimmering with artificial starlight. All around him, men and women of poise clinked champagne flutes while murmuring the value of objects no human hand had touched in centuries. The night was one of the clandestine auctions, invite only, held once a year in the hidden halls beneath the former stock exchange. The auctioneer was a woman whose skin glimmered like pearls sewn into flesh, her mouth shaped like a vault's lock. Her eyes were white diamonds, not metaphorically, literally, implanted. Tonight, the room pulsed with golden light, not from the fixtures, but from a hunger in the guest's eyes. Each was a collector of rarest things, teeth of extinct kings, strands of Mona Lisa's hair, ashes from the last phoenix's nest. Elias had come for one item, lot number 66, the ledger of Mammon. Rumors whispered that Mammon himself kept the ledger chained to his throne in the ninth vault, a place where greed had gone to rot. The book was bound in debt and inked in ambition. It was said to record every transaction of desire made in exchange for something divine, a breath for beauty, a secret for immortality. As the auctioneer unveiled the object, a wind not of this world brushed through the chamber. It smelled like burned silk and salt water. The chandelier flickered. Elias did not feel the breeze, but something in him recoiled, not out of fear, but recognition, the same way a mirror flinches when shown another mirror. He won the bidding war with a number no one heard him speak. He didn't pay in coin. He paid in intention. Act 2. The Ledger. The ledger arrived at Elias Thorne's penthouse wrapped in lead cloth, delivered not by courier, but by shadow. He found on his desk one morning, humming quietly, yes, humming, a sound that did not vibrate the air, but pressed against his bones. As he drew closer, the temperature dropped, and the glass wall behind him grew foggy despite the summer heat. Bound in black leather that shimmered like oil on water, the ledger bore no title on its cover, only a sigil that shimmered in gold, an open eye with a serpent curled inside the iris. The pages whispered to each other when Elias touched them, but fell silent once fully opened. The first page bore his name. Below it, rows of entries had already appeared, documenting trades Elias had no memory of making. July 8th, gave away breath of sincerity, received the voice of command. July 12th, traded 2 years of peaceful sleep, acquired infinite alertness. August 2nd, sacrificed ability to love, gained unwavering ambition. He blinked, stepped back, and read them again. The ink bled slightly on the paper, and the words rearranged themselves the longer he stared, as though unsure how honest they should be. Soon, the ledger became an obsession. He tried to test its rules, entering fake trades in an effort to game the system. October 1st, gave a forgotten wish, received insight into forgotten tongues. It worked. That night, he dreamed in languages no mouth could form. He woke up speaking 3 dead dialects and weeping blood. The more he used the ledger, the more the world changed around him. Staff disappeared without notice. Buildings he owned warped into palaces with impossible architecture. Escher staircases, floating vaults, doors to nowhere that whispered behind the keyhole. In mirrors, his reflection no longer matched. Sometimes it wore a crown of ledgers, its fingers stained with ink, its mouth moving soundlessly. Then, the book began making trades without his consent. He awoke one morning to find note. November 3rd, traded friendship of Jonathan Bale, received immunity to betrayal. Jonathan Bale, his only true friend. dead that afternoon in a freak elevator collapse. Elias wept, but not out of grief. His tear ducts no longer worked. Soon, the world outside blurred into static. Every transaction twisted reality. The city began to resemble a stock ticker dream. Golden windows, silver trees, streets paved with platinum laughter. The ledger was no longer just a book. It was becoming his world. Act 3. The Labyrinth. It began with a door. Not one Elias remembered installing. It simply appeared one morning in the middle of his penthouse library, tall, brass-framed, with no knob or keyhole. Just a slit running down the center like a wound waiting to be opened. It pulsed faintly, syncing with his heartbeat. When Elias approached, the door opened inward, revealing not a room, but a corridor of vaults. A cathedral made of safes, their doors ajar, whispering names and numbers. Gold dripped from ceilings like sap. Chandeliers burned with the light of melted contracts. He stepped through, and the door vanished behind him. The labyrinth was alive. It rearranged itself with every decision he made. Left turns led to galleries of failed currencies, souls screaming from beneath translucent coins. Right turns became museums of what could have beens, faceless statues of himself in forgotten futures. Each wall bore etchings of the ledger's script, now moving like blood through veins. The deeper Elias walked, the more the labyrinth spoke. Not in words, but deals. A screen flickered to life from the wall of a golden chamber, offering, trade one memory of your mother for the scent of immortality. Abandon your reflection for a day of perfect decisions. Surrender your future to reclaim your past. He tried to refuse, but the offers persisted. At first, he walked on. Then he bartered a memory, just one, a small one, the sound of his mother's laughter. He gained the ability to detect lies. Then he traded the memory of his own birth. He gained immunity to time. Each trade brought him deeper, closer to the core. He didn't know what it was. He only knew it called him. The labyrinth bled symbols. As he descended staircases woven from credit lines and forgotten stocks, he saw other wanderers. Billionaires reduced to bone and parchment, whispering equations to walls. Some clawed at safes, trying to get back what they'd given. Others simply sat, eyes hollow, clutching ledgers with their names burned out. Finally, Elias entered the vault of mirrors. Dozens of versions of himself, fat with wealth, starving in luxury, crowned in madness, greeted him. Each one stared as if blaming him. One stepped forward and asked in a voice filled with echo, "Do you even remember what you wanted at the start?" He didn't. That was when the core opened. A golden maw, a mouth made of vault doors. From within came a being too vast to see all at once. A hand with no flesh, fingers made of contracts, a voice layered in screaming currencies. Mammon. Elias fell to his knees as his name was rewritten in the air by burning ink. Mammon didn't speak. It offered the final trade, your identity for the power to create value. Elias accepted without hesitation and vanished. All that remained was the ledger, blank, waiting. Act 4. The Vault of Echoes. The vault was not a place. It was an echo. When Elias vanished, he expected death or transcendence. Instead, he awoke inside a chamber made of reverberation. There were no walls, only reflections of his choices, of past deals, of lives he could have lived. Every sound in this place had weight. His footsteps created ripples of forgotten languages. His breath summoned whispers of trades never made. He was not alone. Figures surrounded him, cloaked in black bullion, their faces made of ledger paper, constantly rewriting themselves. Some reached for him with empty palms, others bowed. They were the consequences, the embodied debts of mankind's desires. Each one bore the mark of Mammon, a crown of rusted keys and tongues sealed by gold. In the vault's center floated a prism. Inside it, Elias's old name, flickering like a dying candle. Mammon returned, not in form, but as sensation. Greed given mass. It flowed like mercury over every surface, speaking through the echoes. You wish to create value. Now become value. Elias watched his memory siphoned. The smell of rain on childhood stone, the taste of hope, the warmth of Jonathan Bale's loyalty, all dissolved into auric vapor, processed by unseen machines. His identity melted into currency. He was no longer a man. He was an index, a spirit of inflation, a whisper inside every deal, every desperate loan, every just this once bargain made in candlelight. And far above, The world continued, never realizing its God had changed. Act V. The Silence of Gold. In the beginning, there was noise, chatter, clink, the murmur of money changing hands. But now there was silence. A silence so total it hummed. Elias, or what had once been Elias, drifted through the outer boundary of the vault of echoes and into a field of gold. Not grass, not flowers, but flat. Endless plains made from pressed coins and wafers of stock certificates, stretching beyond thought. The sky above was metallic gray, swirled like tarnished silver, with clouds shaped like fluctuating markets. At the horizon stood a throne made entirely of safe doors. On it sat no one. Mammon had left the seat vacant. This was the silence of gold. Here, value was no longer created. It was imposed. Elias began to walk. Each step made no sound, but rippled through the currency beneath him. His body, if it could be called that, was translucent now, filled with equations, shifting market caps, flickering charts where organs once were. He passed through a city built from canceled checks and unpaid debts. Children played with IOUs. A cathedral rose from foreclosure papers, its windows made of melted coins. Worshippers bowed to an altar where a hologram of Mammon flickered endlessly, arms outstretched in blessing. "Welcome home," the wind said. A figure emerged, Jonathan Bale. Or rather, a perfect reconstruction formed from Elias's final, unresolved debt. "You traded me," Jonathan said, voice calm. "I didn't know," Elias replied. "Or tried to." The sound came out as currency symbols and ticker noise. Jonathan raised his hand. Behind him, more emerged. Every forgotten deal. Every lost name. A tidal wave of unredeemed promises. They didn't attack. They simply surrounded Elias. Held him. Forgave him. And that forgiveness cost everything. The throne cracked. The plains of gold split. Mammon screamed, not in rage, but in panic. Forgiveness was a debt that could not be collected. It was the one transaction outside his design. Elias began to dissolve, not in pain, but in release. His last human emotion, not greed nor pride, but grief. And beyond that, peace. When the vaults collapsed, the world did not end. It changed. People began to dream again. Art returned. Gifts were given without price tags. The name Elias Thorne faded from every document, every history. But sometimes, in rare moments of desperation, when someone wished for power at any cost, a book would appear, bound in shadow, humming faintly, the ledger, waiting,